Well, good afternoon, everyone. It is 2 p.m. on the dot. We'd like to start on time. We want to make sure that we are respecting everyone in the room, and we really do appreciate you being here. We are going to be Zooming for those that were not able to be here in person, and we do have, as you can see, a few board members that will not be with us today, but we do have 5 representing you here today, and we're very lucky to have the leadership of Mr. Bob Beeman, our board president. I'd like to start, yes, please, round of applause, absolutely. His second year as your president. As you know, if you've been down at the Hall of Fame recently, there was quite the cadence of 2-year presidencies, and then we went to the 1-year program there for a little bit, and Bob was brave enough to get us back on a good cadence there, and we really appreciated his leadership and keeping us all moving in the right direction, one day at a time, right, Claudia? That's right, she's enjoyed it as well. The First Lady is with us, Claudia Beeman. Thank you. And I'd like to thank all my team members that are with us today. We have quite a few of our leaders here in the room, so it's very nice of them to be able to support their chairs of all of those committees, and also anything that comes up once we get to the Q&A at the end of the meeting, we will be here to support as well. So let's have a great 2026 annual meeting, and thank you everyone for being here. Mr. Bob Beeman.
Thank you. All right. I am going to go through the agenda real quick. First thing we'll do is approve the annual meeting minutes. Does anybody want those read? Sweet. And then I'll bore you a little bit, and then we'll get to one of my favorite people in the world, Sarah Rhodes. Although I like her husband maybe better, I don't know. George, it's a toss-up between those two. Man, they're both awesome. And then Strategic Planning Committee, Mike House will talk about that. And then the voting threshold, Curtis Eckmark, who is in the back, our lawyer, will talk about that. And then Q&A with the board of directors. And when it says Q&A with the board of directors, that means you ask questions, we look at Doug, and Doug answers. So kind of like how that works.
And can everyone hear Bob in the back? Are you doing okay hearing him?
Yes.
Or do we need to turn his microphone us a little bit? Okay, perfect.
Kim, what do you mean turn it down? Okay. So as your president, I hope you're enjoying the leadership that you're seeing from Doug and Kurt and their team, and then the board members. Board members, thank you. And we're going to be asking people to run for the board, and when we ask you to run, you do 2 meetings a month, and that's about it. And then when we get you on it, it's closer to 20 to 30 hours a week. But you know, we got to get people on the board. What I love about your board is we have difference of opinions, and we voice it. And we voice it. Now, it takes a while, doesn't it, Dave? About 2-hour board meetings now?
The longest meeting in my history, but good leadership.
Maybe 5.5-hour meetings. But there's things we want to talk about, there's things we want to make decisions on, and we want to get people's input. And so I appreciate those of you here today, and I appreciate getting to lead with our board members. Doug, who is, Doug's a creator. You know, he can create more work for people because he's got a vision. And with that vision, it allows us to continue improving all of our amenities and give people that elevated excellence experience. Now, Kurt, where's Kurt?
I'm over here. I'm running the slideshow.
You're not chewing gum, are you? I don't want to get that comment. The only thing I can see is Kurt chewing gum. All right, Julie, you got the camera. There is nothing about this club Kurt Martin doesn't know. Nothing. So when we have discussions and we are saying, well, how'd that come about? Well, in 1998, and it goes from there. And so, and Kurt, with Doug's leadership, is I used to think Kurt was quiet. I don't think that anymore. I think he's out there and helping to lead, and the groups under him are flourishing. So appreciate both of them. And then I will go to the next slide. I just want to talk about some things. There's a bunch of things we could talk about. We could talk about the metal swimming pool, the canyon tee boxes. We could talk about the canyon patio, and we will probably. But the metal modifications to improve acoustics, I don't know if anybody's ever noticed, it's kind of hard to hear in the metal. And so we have a plan that this fall, we're gonna take the metal out of service for a while and upgrade the acoustics so you can hear better in there. And it'll be ready when we come back next summer. The Forest Highlands app, another thing we've gotten feedback on is people didn't like having 10 different apps. I don't know, I can't use any of them. Bonnie uses them for me. But based on feedback, went to the new Forest Highlands app, and I hope people are liking that. It's easy to get on there and book tea time, book reservations. Next item up there is infrastructure. I don't know if everybody knows, but I grew up in the nuclear power industry. And I grew up in utilities. And to me, infrastructure is just, you gotta have the infrastructure for everything to be successful. And so we're doing some upgrades on infrastructure, mainly around creating where our water system is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, regardless of what's going on outside of us. Right now, we have one diesel that powers, normally it powers one pump, but it's powering some auxiliary pumps right now. And if you go by 2 Canyon, you can see it sitting out there. It's a gray or brown. Claudia, what color is it? Okay, I get to make it up then, it's brown. And we're gonna add, thank you, Sarah. We're adding 2 diesels, one to the 2 Bravo and 2 Well, which are over by 14 Canyon, excuse me. And another one inside the pump house on 2. And the reason we're adding those is if a forest fire was up here in this county somewhere, APS is going to take one immediate action. Anybody know what that is? They're cutting power. And right now we have one pump that will run. And so, and it's just pumping water out of the tank. So when we're done, we're going to have a diesel on well pumps that can continuously fill the tank, and 2 diesels on pumps that are pumping out of those tanks. So as people try to use water to minimize the fire damage, you're not going to run out of water. So part of that is hardening those buildings. There are 10 buildings now. We're going to create where they're brick buildings. I personally want to build a containment building around it, like at the nuke plants. Those are cool. You can see them from everywhere. It's got 3 feet of concrete and then stainless steel on the inside. But Sarah, who runs the budget, said no. But we are going to increase our ability to protect ourselves if there's a fire up there. And then E-Bike University, what we're focused on is to improve the knowledge of our teenagers so they understand how to ride their e-bikes and have fun up here. And Forest Highlands should be a fun place for the teenagers. They ought to come up here and have a blast. But they can't put themselves in danger and they can't put anybody else in danger. So the E-Bike University is something that is helping us improve safety and still let our kids be kids. And then the last one, the divot party tomorrow, 7 a.m. Bring a friend, it's on the meadow. And I hear a rumor that Deg's even coming this time, which is awesome. And we get to make a difference on our golf courses, and we're going to have a little fun, and if you're in the mimosas, we can do mimosas. Gonna make it a fun time. Doug, anything to add to that?
7 o'clock sharp, after 9 holes will be breakfast served, so anyone's welcome, please.
Thank you. All right, we'll go to the next slide and start introducing the team. First up is the golf committee. Kevin Connolly is our board member. And Andrew Hendrick. I should be able to see Andrew anywhere. We put together a committee to go find us a director of golf. And Andrew, stand up. I think everybody got to see you, but. So the committee was Decker Davies, Kevin Connolly, Sarah Gordon, and Carrie Castillo. And you guys started with how many candidates?
10, we had about 40 total applications.
40 applications, screened that down
To a dozen.
screened that down to 5, brought those 5 in, did interviews, brought 2 back. And the goal was, we want to find somebody that's head and shoulders above everybody else. Oh, come on. That was good. And we did. And I hope you see, like, when you're out there golfing and you're interacting with the staff, I hope you see the difference in the details that Andrew is bringing, the focus on doing the little things right, and the big things will follow. And being out there, this is the 3rd time I've golfed this year, and it's just a difference. You feel a difference, and so thank you, Andrew. Thanks for joining us, and Kevin, thank you to you and your committee. I love what they're doing. Next is the Green Committee. Doug Davies, agronomy chair just seems like a weird title for you.
Pretty good, huh?
It is, you know.
I'm Bill's assistant. I see the assistant over there.
Where is Bill? Bill?
How about Bill?
And you may say, yeah, it's a lot better this year. We had rain, we had moisture, which we did, and Bill was out there very happy about it. But you play 13 Canyon and you see we've moved the pond out to greet us a little bit. You hit it in the ditch, you got twice as much, what do we call it? We don't call it a ditch. The creek, thank you. You hit it in the creek, you got twice as much option because it's twice as wide now. And just the little things about it, the new green or the new tee boxes on Canyon, they're awesome. I apologize, Bill. I do owe you an apology.
Did you take a dip already?
Yes, I took a divot. I did not mean to, and I would like to tell you it was a beautiful towering shot.
But he did a great job filling it with the sand, thanks to Andrew's tutorial of you all got to go with the emails, so.
Yeah, so I apologize. I'm down 1 to it. But a great job of taking the whole course and making it aesthetically beautiful, getting rid of old tree limbs and going around with these guys. You couldn't enjoy the course because we need to do that, we need to do that, we're going to do that next, and the priority of what they're working on is awesome. So thank you to that committee. The next one is the House Committee. A lot of us as the board members take our job seriously. I'm not sure that we can match Pat Wellborn because it's a House chair. She's over in France right now testing wines. Now, a lot of people wouldn't go that far to do their job, but Pat Wellborn, she's in. And so Pat and Mark, I saw you, Mark Thomas. And Chef Fred's not here, is he?
He's cooking.
That's a good spot for him. I think this is, I keep hearing over and over in the board meetings, in the committee meetings about, we got this feedback from the survey last year, we got this feedback from the members last year. Mark and Fred have taken that really to heart. And the improvements they're making, focus on rotating the menu. That was one of the things, we want a different menu. We're up here 7 days a week, change the menus, and they're doing that. And the attentiveness and the level of service is things that they focused on. I also like the fact that, I don't know if you remember, but the board voted last year that we're not gonna do catering events for outside people during the summer. Yeah, we can get the easy ones right. There are a couple of those that were already scheduled out that we will live up to, but it has allowed the catering team to be available. And so Mark and his organization are creating events throughout the summer on Saturday night, or the night that we struggle to get everybody to get a reservation. So give people someplace else to go on a Saturday night so we can all get a reservation and eat. Friday night, with the expansion of the cool down, I think we can get everybody a seat. Saturday night, Mark and his team are being creative and not saying, well, that's all the seats we have. It's like, how do we use other places? How do we use this place? How do we use the mobile kitchen and such? If you have questions about that, they will be happy to answer at the end of this. Next is rackets with Shannon Janis. And the award-winning Nicole Chambers. Is Nicole here?
She's down winning an award right now.
She's down winning an award, thank you. You know, the feedback for the rackets committee last year was very positive. The most positive of all the feedback we got. But every time they report out, it's on things they're doing to make improvements. So it's impressive. Nicole and her team are just, they're winners. And they're gonna make improvements and continue where we have the best rackets in the state. So appreciate both of them and their committee. And then recreation, again, Shannon is the chair of that, and Aaron Reddy. There's Aaron. The kids programs are obviously top notch, but we give them, a huge area to entertain in. You got what, 1,000 square feet?
Yeah, just about.
For 1,500 kids shouldn't be a problem. But they just keep coming up with ways to increase and she's also got, besides the kids program, she has fitness, she has concierge program. Where if you have something around your, hey, would you stop disrupting? If you have something that needs to be done around the house, use the concierge. They are awesome, and they're our employees, and they're accountable to us, so. Aaron, what is it? Is it Tai Chi and
Thai lattes.
Thai latte? And you're doing that what days?
We did our event last Sunday, and we had about 40 members join us, so it was exciting.
Pardon? Awesome. Something we've never done before, so. Is that true?
Yeah, we've never done that.
Cool. Thank you.
Speak the truth.
Yeah, or get caught. Next is the security committee. Jim Cooper, security chair. Where's Jim today?
Jim is on a family vacation in Idaho.
I guess people vacation in Idaho. Jim, and then Joe Gordon, the director of security. Joe? And this E-Mike University we talked about and came out of Joe and Aaron and Jim and Shannon, that group working together about how do we handle this situation with the dangerous. We just saw a lot of dangerous situations last year, and kids getting hurt, and how do we prevent that? Joe's organization does an awesome job of being proactive, being out there, talking to people. They don't want to be They don't want to be the cops. They want to really educate people where they make better decisions. They will be the cops if we force them into it. But I love the fact that they're being proactive out there, talking to whoever they need to talk to, documenting that, so we have trends that we can use to make improvements or make changes if we need to. The next one is Firewise. Is Pete here? Anybody remember how many years Pete's been on Firewise?
100.
100, thank you, Fred. Very good. I think it's like 23. It's an incredible amount of years. And the Firewise are going to continue focusing this year on inspections of the houses, making sure that we're meeting the Firewise requirements. Next is utilities. Our two directors are Lindsay Church, the utilities director, and Miguel Parra, the director of common area maintenance. Are either one of them here? Okay. You know,
They deserve a round of applause.
Miguel just has 1,200 acres he's got to take care of. And he's got a team of 10. And it's pretty incredible. And the other people will call in, like when we set up for the tents, that's Miguel's group. When they take the tents down, that's Miguel's group also. They're very, very active and take great pride in making Forest Highlands look as good as it can, or look its best, I should say. Next is my favorite, the Strategic Planning Committee. Mike Dowse, right here, who's going to present during a couple of minutes. Mike is the definition of leadership, just incredible leadership. And the committee, we got a few opinionated people on that committee, which we want, and we still want most times. But they are so awesome. I mean, they are turning and challenging, and Mike just keeps them moving down the path, and an incredible committee doing great work for us. And I'm not going to steal any of Mike's thunder, but I hope after you hear Mike's presentation that you're impressed with the way that we are looking at the long-range planning for Forest Highlands. Not worried about this year, not worried about next year with the Strategic Planning Committee. We're still going to be doing the changes that I've talked about. We're going to keep things moving forward, but for the big things, those changes, those adds, Mike and the Strategic Planning Committee are the ones looking at that. And then next, the Design Review Committee. Is Katrina here?
She is not here.
Okay. I wish Katrina was here. And Dave Scherf isn't here either. The Design Review Committee they're the group that are holding the 900 of us accountable to the development standards. Where our houses maintain the way that the development standard talks about, and when they see somebody changing things and it's outside, then they've got to go have those uncomfortable conversations. And I hope when you hear somebody say, the Design Review Committee came over and told me I had to stop this, and I start bitching about it, and stop them and say, wait, we're all living to the same development standards, we want those. That's what keeps the value of each one of our houses floating in the upward direction. And Claudia, my much better half, likes that blue house on the way into town, and she thinks that should be one of our colors. Oh, yeah, she wants to mow that thing down, just so we don't have to see it on the way in. But the Design Review Committee is what's preventing things like that, not near that gross, but where things aren't up to standards. And I appreciate them being able to have those tough conversations, and the board supporting them and backing them up when they do have those conversations. Next, Julie Sterner over here, the Director of Marketing and Communications. well deserved. Communicating and you know, it's got to feel lonesome sometimes because she sends it out and then people will ask the question that's right on there. And you know, that they're not reading it. But I really am appreciative of Julie and the improvements that she has done in our communications. And she is the one, if you have trouble with the app, the Forest Highlands app, she will help get you app. And Talia, there's Talia, her in the back, got a new title. Last year she was the Director of Human Resources. Now she's the Director of Cultural and People. And I really don't know what she does. I know. It can't be that hard to add 400 staff members every summer. How hard could that possibly be? With about 80 of them coming internationally. I mean, it's incredible what she gets accomplished. And I walk into her office, thank you. I walk into her office and she has every one of the names and when they're gonna get there. It's impressive. And so, thank you. I appreciate it. And then next. What was that, Sarah? And that picture was earlier this spring. You know, Sarah did 3 years. And then said, yeah, I'll do 3 more. And so this is her 4th year. And you know, all of us are willing to spend the money we need to spend to maintain Forest Highlands. But we all want to feel like Sarah, Rod here, is Rod here?
Yes.
Rod, the vice chair, thank you. And Kim Rushing, in the very back. You know, we want to feel that our money is being cared for and used the best it can be used. And this group does an extremely great job of it. They also take the money that we have and invest it and make sure that we're getting a return on investment so our money is growing, so we don't have to, it minimizes what comes out of our pocket. And then they also are very, very accountable to the GAC principles, or generally accepted accounting principles, and making sure that our audits go successfully and continue to make improvements on how we can do the annual audits, and also make improvements on the using technology so Doug and his team can see how much they're spending where on payroll, on materials on a daily basis. And so we've really upped the game. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Sarah Rose. Thank you.
I love it when Bob presents, it's like a pep rally. You know, I'm so excited.
Yeah, sorry about that. He just has a way to make us feel so happy after, you know, what is some pretty difficult meetings and pretty difficult decisions, but we have such a wonderful staff. And I just want to thank all of you as members for attending today in person. This is my 4th year, and sometimes the annual meetings, town hall meetings, are pretty much attended by our spouses, our staff, and those few loyal members that are very faithful to attend these meetings. So it's exciting to see so many of you here to hear the good news about the financial position of our beautiful club. I also want to thank my fellow board members and my committee members. I happen to work with finance, investment oversight, audit oversight, strategic planning, and the executive committee, and you have no idea the hours that your volunteer members put in for the benefit of our community. A special thank you to Kim, Jay Kim. Kim is absolutely our rock. Kurt, where are you? Which computer? And Doug, because their endless support to all of these committees and tireless hours they spend to provide the answers to what are very tedious and irritating questions coming from all of our committees is amazing. You guys should be very grateful. We have such an amazing staff. I'm pleased to report that the financial state of our club and our HOA at this moment in time is excellent. It's dynamic, but we're in such good shape. It's our job as owners, we're all owners, to provide and to manage the necessary resources to keep our beautiful community in its present state, but also to meet those expectations of our members for the future. This whole last year and a half of being able to survey the members to get in vital feedback on what your expectations are of our beautiful community is so important in making sure we are meeting your expectations and that we're staying within the guidance that you're providing to us. This year, we challenged, oh my gosh, our financial leadership because we engaged a new audit firm. It's a larger firm. They brought fresh eyes. They have a deeper private club expertise that we probably didn't have in our prior team. And our team met the challenge of the new audit, which is very frightening to an accounting department. Hi, Kim. They met them, all those expectations admirably. It's my privilege today to present to you the very good highlights of the results of our operations and our balance sheet position as of the end of 2025. I'm not going to be able to tell you in the next 5 minutes, which is my limit, all the details, but we post our audited financial statements on the member website. Just got to go to the HOA subtext, hit documents, and you'll see the last 3 years, including the most recent financials there. And the fun part about this year, as opposed to prior, is the financial report's only 22 pages long. It's some good bedside reading, including all those footnotes, but that compares to 36 pages the year before. So sometimes I will tell you less is better. Okay, we're going to move ahead to a pie chart that you guys get to see every year. But this is just a refresher to show for 2026 where your monthly dues go. Our monthly bill right now is $1,525. Of that, $1,280 goes toward HOA expenses and club expenses. The remainder is basically a reserve assessment to help build up and sustain reserves for all of the maintenance, some deferred, some imminent, to make sure that we keep our beautiful facility in its present good condition, as well as improving it for the future. We have, if I could have the next slide, we talk about 3 buckets of funds. We have operating funds, reserve funds, and capital funds. These structures were established in our CC&Rs and bylaws that go back to 1987. And effectively, reserve and capital funds are restricted in terms of what the sources are and how we can use those monies, which are basically all directed toward the facility of Forest Highlands. Operations are our annual operations. We basically, you pay a monthly dues for operations, and we have operational revenues from all our various departments, food, beverage, recreation, etc. We use those funds to pay for all of our operating expenses. If there is a big excess, we could move monies into the capital fund. But our goal, which is the goal of most clubs in our industry, is to basically break even on operations. Otherwise, if we make big profits in operations, we're overcharging you on the dues, or we're overcharging you on the revenue. So we like to stay break even there. Reserve fund is basically what we call obligatory spending. That's just keeping our existing facility in good shape. It's not new stuff, it's just keeping our present stuff in good condition. Capital fund are aspirational projects, so those are the new things. There may be a new golf experience center, something like a brand new fitness center that exceeds anyone's expectations. Things that we know would be future types of amenities that our members are telling us in the surveys that we need. Next sheet gets into the nerdy numbers of the balance sheet. The takeaways are, it looks like 19 million in cash. We're hoarding cash at the expense of our members. Au contraire, we have enough in our operating account, 1.7 million to basically pay 1 month of overhead. Our reserve funds at 8.7 million of that 19, plus what they're telling us in our reserve specialist study for the next 4 years is barely enough to cover those reserve costs if we continue to assess a reserve monthly fee in the same order that we're presently assessing. So by the end of 4 years, they would be all depleted based on what's in the reserve. And then the remaining part of that 19 million is 8.7 of capital money, which is what is being preserved for all of those future projects. No question what those are going to be, because that's what strategic planning is going to resolve to everyone's amusement. We don't have a lot of debt. The only thing showing up under non-current liabilities is just the portion of our leases on primarily our golf maintenance equipment over beyond the first year. Member equity grows. I love our trend. 3 years ago, 59 million. We grew it about 4 million to 63. Once again this year, we increased our member equity by 4.3 million. Divide that by 900 members, and there's your pro rata share of our growth. Next statement is income statement. We basically have sufficient revenues between dues and operations to cover operating costs. Our goal on net operating income is to break even. If we make too much money, we're charging you too much dues. If we don't charge enough, we're going to run a deficit. You'll see 3 years ago, under other management, we ran a pretty significant deficit. We've even done that the year before. 2024, 2025, with our new leadership, thank you, Doug, and your team. We obviously have stayed in the black. We've made our budgets. And between our strong investment income, member reserves, we're still showing an improvement of excess revenues and assessments over expenses. So this is an excellent trend as we compare ourselves to other elite clubs that we want to emulate in terms of operational standards. Next page. I did want to show you what did we spend this year on the major capital reserves, because I know that's a part of the chatter amongst our members. And these are just the 5 things that were big ticket items. Some were capital, some are reserves. But wastewater treatment plant, I don't think that's someone's fun idea of how to spend money. Purchase of golf carts. Yes, thank you, Bob. Purchase of golf carts. We found out that our golf carts were in such good shape as our long-term lease matured. Doug did great research to demonstrate that it was a better deal for us to buy our very good conditioned golf carts that Bill and his team take care of. Thank you very much. We have some great mechanics. And so we actually own the present fleet of carts outright. As they age, obviously we'll be looking at new acquisition alternatives. Annual road repair, I don't think that's a boondoggle or a pet project. Common area improvements and repairs, that's not a pet project. And they've started to do a wonderful improvement at the Bear Howard Park and have other plans to even enhance that further in the future. So we spent basically, I think, 2.3 million on capital projects, most of which were equipment, trucks, carts, furniture, all those things that have worn out. And so we haven't done anything really extraordinary in our current year of spending. Obviously, the work in progress are completing our 2 water tanks, freshwater, and completing our effluent tank, which is still in progress. So, having gone over that, I want to tell you to go to the member website, because I can't give you all the details, but there are great details. Always happy to meet with you, answer the phone, have coffee. and actually go through those financial statements, which I love, which is very nerdy. But if you would like more details, all of that is laid out for you. We want to be very transparent and share with you anything you want to know about the finances of Forest Highlands. Okay, I think the next slide, and this is a big comparative. I hope all of you got the handout. People want to know, how do we rank with other Arizona clubs? And I won't go into the details because they're pretty obvious. But I think for the most part, you're going to see Forest Highlands has one of the lowest due structures for the amenities and facilities that we provide our members, according to our strategic consultants club benchmarking. But if you have any concerns, please express them. With that, I think I can turn over the microphone.
Thanks, Sarah. Well, hello, everyone. As you may know, Bob was nice enough to invite me to chair the Strategic Planning Committee in January, so that was a surprise and not on my bingo card. But it's been a great experience. So we can go to the next slide. You can see we have a fabulous team on the Strategic Planning Committee. I'm sure you recognize most of those names. As far as the committee itself, it's a great cross-section of newer members like myself, but we have some members on there who have 30-plus years in this community. So great perspective. But what was important to us is it's not the committee making the decisions on what the strategic plan is going to be. Rather, we need to transversely work across our other committees because they have a wealth of knowledge and dozens of members as well. So we're really working hard to do this in a collaborative approach. And then we're lucky to have Doug and his leadership team steering the ship, so we appreciate that. So with that, the next slide, when you really peel back the onion of a strategic plan, to me there's two things we're responsible for. First and foremost, we have an excellent place. We're not coming in to try to reinvent the wheel or fix something that's broken. I'm going to show you a membership survey that 93% of our members love this place. So we have some stewardship to really protect what we currently have, and that's not lost on us. Having said that, someone else is going to be up here 5 or 10 years from now talking about a strategic plan, and we hope he or she says the same thing. So we need to plan for that and be proactive for the future. So that's kind of our guiding principle as we go through this. Protect what we have now, but also prepare for the future. Next slide. Again, I mentioned I started in January, but the committee was incredibly hard at work last year, and they set a strategic framework that is really grounded in a mission statement, a vision statement, a brand statement, and then 7 pillars, we call it, strategic pillars. So that starts with campus and facilities over here, if you can see it. And when you think of strategic planning, that's kind of the default we all think about is campus and facilities. But it's so much more than buildings and brick and mortar. So we have pillars around finance that Sarah just talked about. We've got sustainability. We have membership, management staff, governance, and programming. So all those buckets fall within strategic planning. And I've circled 3 of them in red because those are the 3 we're talking about today. Sarah already covered finance. I'm going to touch on campus and facilities because as a good president, he delegated that to me, even though you're the champion for that pillar.
Very true.
And then, so I learned from that, and I'm delegating governance to our new corporate counsel, Curtis Eckmark, who will be presenting in a bit. But let's jump into campus and facilities. So Sarah, you mentioned it's the decision of strategic planning, what we're going to do with that money. I have to correct you on that, because it's really the membership that's going to tell us what we do. So there's an old saying, how much is this going to cost? And the answer is, you're going to tell us. It's not for us to do a top-down. So with that spirit, last year the committee kicked off an incredible listening tour. Many of you probably participated in these town halls last year. We had 10 of them, and they were moderated by Club Benchmarking, who does this around the country. We sent out a survey to just over 800 people or just under 900 people. We had 478 responses. And for those of you that took the survey, it wasn't a one-page survey. It was pages and pages and pages. So we have a ton of data and documentation on what the membership is asking for. And then finally, as I mentioned in the earlier slide, on a weekly, monthly basis, we're interacting with the other committees and the club management as well. So that's kind of our process currently of gathering data. So I mentioned earlier, And if you want to see the full results of the membership survey, it is on the website, much like the financials, and there are dozens and dozens and dozens of pages. I'm going to show you 2 of them today. And it talks about the slide I showed earlier. 92.5% of our membership said they somewhat agree, or strongly agree that we have a great, fantastic club. So again, club benchmarking, the consultants who we work with, said this is unbelievable. So that's why it's not lost on us that we don't want to screw up what we currently have, that we have to protect our current paradise in the pines. The next slide, though, also says we can't be complacent. Over 90, almost 92% of the membership said we have to keep our facilities fresh and up to date, and we have to play offense in keeping this place a great place. So what does that mean? And we broke it into 2 buckets. So if you go through all those pages in the membership survey, members really asked us to look at 2 areas to improve the club. First was refresh this building, the Canyon. Over 50% of the membership feels that the Canyon is a little tired and run down, but what they clearly said as a membership is don't tear it down, don't build a new one, but refresh this one and keep it within the architectural integrity that we currently have. So I don't have the answers for you for that today, but that's how we're approaching it. Secondly, over 50% of the membership asked us, we have to do something about our fitness facilities and programming. That could be a new facility or it could be an expanded facility, and we have to provide options to the membership to give us feedback. But that's another area we're exploring. The second bucket is what I would call new things. What don't we currently have at Forest Highlands? The first one, which honestly surprised me, over 50% of the membership asked us to investigate a convenience store or mini market. And I'm going to touch on that today, because the punchline is we're not going to build a mini market, but we may have some other solutions for you. And the second thing the membership asked us to investigate is an all-season indoor practice facility. To me, that's a very broad answer, because what is that? 1 hitting bay, or is it 10 hitting bays? That we don't know yet, but we need to come back to you on that. But let me address the mini market first, because we're going to check this box. There's really 3 options. We ran pro formas and P&Ls on building a mini market. We talked to Desert Mountain, who had a mini market at one point that went out of business. And I used to run a lot of retail stores. It's just not financially viable to build a store, staff it, and put inventory in it and make money. So we have other options for the membership. The first, we talked to Chef Fred, and Meadows is going to really step up what they can offer the membership. So on a moment's notice, if you need some eggs, milk, or other staples, feel free to call the Meadow, and they'll have it there waiting for you. Secondly, I see it on my credit card every week, Instacart. We're big fans of it in our family, and those services are only getting better and better, and we'd encourage the membership to explore that. And the third one is our concierge service, and to me that has an added benefit. If you want the food delivered to your house before you arrive for the weekend, you want it in your fridge, you want it in your pantry, rely on the concierge service. So I just wanted to address that because over 50% of the members asked us to explore it, but we did come to a conclusion on that particular item. Let's try this for a few years first before we invest in a mini market. All right, next, the master plan. So you can't go somewhere if you don't know where you're currently at. So what we recently made a decision a few weeks ago is to engage Swaback Architectural Firm, who has done the majority of this work on the campus over the last several decades. What we've asked them to do is a 60-day sprint here to tell us what do we currently have, and what does that mean? Give us a full inventory. We don't have one document today that shows everything that we have. Tell us what type of shape it is. You know, has it got 1 or 2 years left in it? Does it have 30 years left in it? Should we replace it? Should we renovate it? And then we want to take that membership survey we've been talking about and overlay it over their findings. So that's what we're going to do in the next 60 to 90 days, is work with Swaback to accomplish that. And then the thought is come back here in September at our membership meeting and share with you the findings of that work that we're doing throughout the summer. And that's going to be a pivotal moment. Once we know where we're currently at, we're going to go to market with an RFP. We're going to probably interview anywhere between 3 and 5 architectural firms who have experience in our industry. And we're going to challenge them to come up with a master plan for us. So we're going to hire, and it could potentially be Swaback, but we don't want to be limited to them. There's some great architectural firms out there who've done some world-class communities across our country, and we're going to reach out to those firms as well. So anyhow, we're going to engage them in the fall of this year. So Kurt, we'll probably go to the next slide. Yep. So I'm kind of in phase 2. We just complete phase 2. Once we hire that architectural firm, we'll give them fall of 26 and winter of 27 to draft, and I underline the word draft, a master plan, a 10-year vision for our club. And a year from now, Bob hasn't gotten rid of me, I'll be up here with a proposed draft master plan for the next 10 years for our community. Then we're going to spend all next summer socializing that master plan with the membership. We're going to go back to town halls, we're going to go back to surveys, we're going to go back to working groups, and ask the membership to really dial in what you like about the master plan and what you don't like about the master plan. So that will take us through the summer of 27, and then the fall of 27, we'll take that architectural firm and say, check this box, this one's a go, don't do this one, the membership didn't want it, etc. And we're going to go back and ask them to really dial that in through the winter, and then I'll come back in May of 28, and we'll have a proposed master plan with specific cost and specific timing, and at that point, we'll ask the membership to vote on it. So I just wanted to share with you that this is a very methodical approach we're taking to the master plan. First, we want to understand where we're at, then go back and share some different ideas and creative ideas, get your feedback, and then make decisions at that point. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how we're approaching campus and facilities. Next on the list today was governance, which is uber important to our club. You can see the names at the top. Some great veterans of our community are leading this discussion. And as shared in Bob's email this week, our CC&Rs are really significantly outdated, and frankly, they don't protect us the way they should. But we also know we're not experts in CC&Rs. So we've reached out to literally the leading attorney in this space in Arizona and across the country. And that's who I'm going to introduce next. And Kurt, if you could put up their bio. So we've got the father and daughter team of Curtis Eckmart and Courtney Procor. Courtney's not with us today, but Curtis is. And I won't read their resumes, but you can see this is right in their wheelhouse. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Curtis. And then at that point, when Curtis is finished.
I didn't want to interrupt you, but can you talk about his pickleball?
No, that's fine.
Curtis and his family is quite an accomplished sports family. They have several national champions in various sports and golf, and if I'm covering it correctly.
So, stand up.
This is a mark.
I'm married up athletically.
So they won the U.S. Open for their age group of pickleball. That ought to be celebrated.
I didn't know that. That's why I couldn't take your read. I'm sorry.
You know,
All right.
it's kind of awkward when I have you introduce something I know and you don't.
I know. If it was tennis, I would have known it. Okay.
Applause for Mike Dowslow.
Yeah. Curtis, here you go.
Okay, first of all, you have a great place here, right? As you can see on the screen, I'm 33 years into representing community associations. I'm blessed to represent some absolutely wonderful communities, but I'm really grateful that I got a chance to come up here. Because it doesn't take long when you come up here in person to realize what a truly special place this is. I mean, you've got the weather, the beautiful surroundings, world-class amenities in golf and pickleball. You've got a wonderful membership with a very deep group of volunteers that you've all seen who are willing to lend their time and expertise to making the community better. And you've got elite professional help in Doug and Kurt as well. So everything's there, right, for you guys to be world class. The one Achilles heel that you do have is that your governing documents are a little bit old and outdated, right, and need a little bit of a refresh. And a lot of us in this room can relate to old and needing a refresh, right? So sometimes you just get to that point in life, and that's kind of where your documents are. And it is important to pay attention to those because that is the base that everything is built on. And we want to make sure that those are good to go. When I look at yours, obviously, just think about all the things that have changed here at Forest Highlands since those were drafted. all the new programs that were added, the new amenities were added, all the different things that have happened, right? When those were drafted, there was a bunch of stuff that didn't exist, drones, Airbnb, pickleball didn't exist back then, right? So quite a few things just need to be updated. Also, there's been a slew of new legislation in Arizona and a bunch of case law that's come down, all since these were drafted. As a matter of fact, the entire Planned Community Act post-dates your documents. So it would be great to get that baked in and update that as well. And frankly, with all due respect, they weren't really the greatest documents to start. There are some inconsistencies in there. There are some things that should be defined and there's not. For example, when I first read through it, it was a little bit confusing because one provision will say, you can do this subject to the cap set forth in this provision. And then you go to that provision and there's no cap. So there's some things and when there's ambiguities like that, sometimes that can result in expectation gaps and then sometimes represent disagreements, drama, and ultimately sometimes lawsuits. And nobody wants that, right? I've won a ton of big cases. No one ever said that was super fun. Let's do that again. Litigation's expensive. It's time consuming and we want to avoid that at all costs. So we want to get that stuff cleaned up. All of you want to protect your property values and you want to come here as a refuge, right? You want this to be a happy place. You don't want to be engulfed in drama or controversy or divisiveness. So it is important to get those documents cleaned up. You may be saying, why has it been so long since they've been amended? And the answer to that is, it's incredibly difficult to amend those documents. Your amendment provision, if you just think of a spectrum of different amendment provisions, if you start at like Courtney, she represents Yellowstone Club, Moonlight Basin, Spanish Peaks in Montana, 3 of the most affluent, sophisticated clubs in the world. All 3 of those recently went to the board can amend the documents with no vote of the membership. None. That is one end of the spectrum. Because they want the flexibility, they want the nimbleness, they want to be able to react and keep making the documents better to catch up with the times, and that's really important to them. And there, the membership has realized, hey, if the board does something wacky, we can get a new board and we can change it back. So that's one end of the spectrum. Then you go to other places like Desert Mountain. I've been Desert Mountain's lawyer for 25-ish years. They have what's called a 520 process. It's 5.20 in their documents. And for most of their amendments, again, the board drafts a resolution, they mail it out to the membership, they wait 45 days. If less than 10% object, that amendment takes effect. If more than 10% object, they have to have a vote of the membership, but the vote is 2/3 of those voting, as opposed to the entire membership. And as you continue along the spectrum, some communities, you have to have a vote, but it's 50% of those voting. Other communities, it's 67% of those voting. And then you get into 50% of the entire membership, and then you get to where you are, which is 67% of the entire membership, which is a very difficult threshold. It's basically at the other end of the spectrum right now. There's a few unicorns out there that require 75% of the entire membership, but they're usually very old documents, and they're very large communities to the point where, like, I represent one of them, and it's like 3,700 homes. They're never going to get 75% of the people to vote on anything. And so they're just stuck, and there's not much they can do about it. So if you look at the spectrum, that's kind of where you fall today. And so the board and the committees were very thoughtful about this, and they said, hey, look, when we're going to tackle this refresh project, instead of maybe overwhelming people and 28 different things we want to amend or whatever, they were very strategic about it and said, let's tackle the amendment provision first and get that problem fixed, because that's really the funnel, right? That's the bottleneck. And if we can get that fixed, then we can go back, get input from the membership, figure out what needs to be done from there. But let's solve that problem first and be very strategic, a strategic strike, a surgical strike with respect to that issue. And so in doing that, I thought they were very thoughtful about how they did it. They really tried to strike a balance. I laid out those aggressive approaches, but they also said, hey, look, there's people in this community who are concerned about making it too easy to amend. And I get that. That's not the trend, but I get it. It's a valid concern. And so this board kind of landed somewhere in the middle, and then they baked in several protections in the process itself. And where they landed was 67% of those voting. So that's much easier than 67% of the entire membership, but it's still a more robust hurdle to get over than 50% or no vote at all, like some of the other communities are going to. So it's 67% of those voting, and then they baked in 3 extra protections. The first is notice. Under ARS 33-1804, which is the statute in Arizona, it says anytime there's a meeting, there must be at least 10 days notice. The board said, hey, look, we don't want to surprise anybody, so they baked into this amendment provision a minimum of 30 days notice. If there's going to be a meeting to amend the documents, they would be required to provide everybody at least 30 days written notice, so everyone has the time to adequately kind of digest and make an informed decision. The second thing that they did was the quorum. Again, the trend is lower quorums today. We do all the governing documents for Pulte, Shea, Trilogy, Toll, TriPoint, et cetera, Fulton, et cetera, et cetera. Every one of our documents, we're putting the quorum at 10% because everyone wants the flexibility to be able to do things without getting stuck on a quorum issue. But when I relayed that to the board, they said, hey, we want to build in some extra protections. And so they set the quorum at double that, which was 20%. And then the third, and I think the most robust protection, is the actual voting itself. Under the law, there's a statute, ARS 33-1812, that says that associations have to allow voting in person, and they have to allow voting by absentee ballots. And that's great. And so obviously, if there's any amendment vote here in the future, you're going to have to do that. But the board also guaranteed in this document that they would allow electronic voting as well. And that is very helpful in terms of ensuring member participation. There are companies out there now, Election Buddy, Vote HOA Now, a couple of them, and they make it incredibly easy to vote. You get an email, you click on the code, you punch in your 6-digit code, you vote yes or no. And so we have found that that really increases voter participation and allows people much more access to vote, which is incredibly important, especially in a community like this, when maybe only 20% of you would be here at any given time, right? Or even less if it's the winter time or something like that. So I think that was, again, really important to balance those things out. And then also keep in mind that there are recent statutory and case law protections with respect to homeowners' rights with respect to any amendment. There's a recent statute called ARS 33-1817, and it's a recent codification of some trilogy of cases that have been around for a while that basically says that any amendment in Arizona needs to apply uniformly to all the homeowners. So what it does is it protects you from having to worry about, hey, I'm in the minority, majority is going to vote something to do that, something that adversely impacts me, but not everybody else. And so that is in 1817. And then the most important thing, the change in our world recently, was the Callway case from the Arizona Supreme Court. And this has been a game changer. Just a couple years ago, the Arizona Supreme Court decided the Callway case. And what that says is that anytime an association wants to do any amendment, that amendment, number one, needs to pass the test in the CC&Rs. You need to get the requisite vote. But you also need to prove that it's both reasonable and foreseeable to the membership. And so again, it's kind of another kind of added layer of protection to make sure that there aren't some type of crazy amendments that adversely affect people. So there are a variety of layers built into this vote. There's some statutory and case law protection as well. But that is today's best plan, is to try to tackle that First Amendment first, solve the problem of you having an unusually high threshold, and then assuming you can get the votes for that, then you can start having some town halls and some discussions about fixing these CC&Rs to make sure they don't cause a problem in the future.
Can you summarize?
Sure. Sure, yes. The proposal is that in order, if this passes, in the future, in order to amend, there would have to be notice given out 30 days in advance. That's number one. Number two, you would be allowed to vote absentee ballot, in person, or by electronic voting. Number three, you would need at least 20% of your membership to vote. And number four, you'd have to get 67% of those voting to vote in favor. Sure. Huh? Yes. Wow, I didn't see any questions for anybody else. That's usually what happens with me. Excuse me? Yes. The question is explain the choices. The choices are, there you could fill out a paper ballot, or you can vote electronically, correct? Yes, and so has the email went out yet? There will be an email going out at 4 o'clock today.
Everyone in person here can vote today.
Yeah, I think there's paper in the back, so you could vote today if you wanted to, and there will also be an email going out. Yes?
Kurt, well, this is going to be a entire vote. The decision will have the old standard.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great point. The question was, the point was, we still are under the old standard. So we have to get 67% of the entire membership to take this step forward. Yes. All right, well, oh, yes.
So in the email that came out, it had 4 changes.
In the email that came out, there were 4 changes, and one was about the voting window. But that's not changed in here, so I don't know if in the current document it already matches the email, or is that something that needs to be changed? It says a 30-day window
Yeah.
for voting.
Correct.
Not the notice, but it's left open.
Yes, so the way that we're doing this particular vote, which is to change the amendment, we're amending the amendment provision. This, we're using a written consent process. So you can go as long as you need to go to get the requisite number of votes, but we're hoping to do that in 30 days. Yes.
I mean, is there something in the CC&R that requires a length of time for a vote, either currently or in the future?
No. In the future, we will require 30 days. Oh.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, the question is there something in the CC&Rs that requires a certain period of voting? And the answer is no, it's currently, but in the future, you will get at least 30 days notice. That is going to be guaranteed.
But that's not on this document, so that's what I'm asking, in another section.
Oh, if you read that document there, it says, provided that at least 30 days written notice is provided.
How long do you have to turn your vote?
Oh, good. Okay, so the question is, how long do you have to turn your vote in? It will be from the time you get notice until the meeting, so at least 30 days. Got it.
Yeah, I heard all the protection is 67%, but if 20% of the membership is required, then 20% of the membership, 67% of 20 can determine the outcome of any decision.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, so the point was, that maybe only 20% vote, and then 67% of 20 could make a decision. And yes, that is absolutely true. Again,
So a very small minority can determine the outcome of anything.
I would say yes and no, because keep in mind, everyone has gotten notice. And so also, if it is easier to amend, it would also be easier to amend it back if the majority decides they think it's a bad idea. But yes, that is a fair point.
Totally aware of the difficulties that the 2/3 requirement create. But to me, we're taking a huge leap of faith suggesting we go from, 2/3, go down to 20%, then 2/3 to 20%. I'm not comfortable with that personally, and I've been contacted by several members who aren't here today who have similar feelings. I mean, I don't know what the right formula is. It's different than what we have now, but if it was, 50% vote, and a majority membership, to me, seems like a much more reasonable, and there's probably other things that seem more reasonable too, but just like he pointed out, I don't want to get in a merry-go-round of 20%, 2/3 approved, and somebody who's, people didn't bother to vote, didn't like that, then they do something different. It seems to me that, this place has worked quite well over the years with a 2/3 number, and it's a hindrance, and we should get rid of that. But I just don't personally think, and at all, that we should go drop as low as 20% on voting level.
Yeah, and that's a fair point. I understand. I will tell you that it's pretty rare that only 20% vote, in my experience, especially when everyone has gotten notice.
We did 50% for board elections.
Yeah.
That's required.
Yeah.
So why is that so hard to do?
Well,
So
like
I
I
don't see
said,
why that would be such a hard hurdle.
like I said, there's an infinite number of ways to schedule this, right? Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I certainly respect that. All I will tell you is that on the spectrum, you're still further over here than most.
Yeah, sorry, Bob, I really appreciate your comments. The first thing I'm gonna start by saying is the board is friggin' amazing. The amount of homework they do, the number of the hours that they put in. And speaking against a board recommended resolution is really hard for me. I actually wish I was on the board, but anyway, I agree with Bob. Look, we had 478 people fill out our survey, and that was a big, long survey. I think we've got engaged membership. Setting the threshold down to 20%, currently right now it's at 100%. 67% of 100% of the members have to affirm a positive vote. If we go to 20%, if we go to 67% of 20%, that's 13.5% of our members that can change the CC&Rs. The CC&Rs to me are our constitution, and to me, I feel like the board is doing everything exactly right in terms of the vector, the direction, what they're trying to do. And I love our board, but I would speak in favor of not 20%, but something higher, not 100%, but somewhere in between. That's my 2 cents.
Thanks. Yeah.
Do you have any idea, any historical data that says the percentage of votes that we normally get is when there is when something is swear out the vote?
Kurt, you want to talk about what we normally get for
It's,
voting?
so we do, to Mr. Scott's point, we do hit the 50% quorum when we get our board votes, but it is very difficult. So normally, we have to go out, we have to cold call, we have to get a few more votes in. Getting to that 67% historically has been very difficult. We've only done it a couple times.
Yes?
Thank you, Kurt. I do see the need to update my CC&Rs. My question is, I think 30 days notice in the off-season is a little bit skimpy because many of us travel or going to visit family or whatever, and we're not necessarily around or in the holiday season or whatever. So it's also, I think that the time should be a little bit greater. You're giving us more time, maybe 45 days, whatever, find a comfortable average there.
All right. I think there's a question in the back.
Yep. Traditionally, you work with a lot of communities that do similar things, and I'm sure have made more modern choices. I hear, thank you. I hear what both sides are saying here a little bit. I think we have a situation where trying to get 67.5%, 67.5, is that the number? Of 100%?
2/3.
2/3 of the whole membership is a very high bar, and we've got some things we need to fix and modernize. I think there's definitely, I hear a lot of hesitancy going down to 20%. I think there is part of me that says, well, then we vote, right? You know what I mean? Because then we have our voice, right? So if 67% of us still vote, then we all have that choice. But with the communities you work with, like Desert Mountain and others, that similarly, I'm not assuming that club is, but have similarly lowered their quorums, what's the percentage of turnout that you're normally seeing for these clubs for these types of votes that might make people feel a little more comfortable?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it really varies on the issue, right? Like the last 2 amendments we did at Desert Mountain, the first one, And at Desert Mountain, it's, again, they put out the resolution, right? So the first one was an amendment with respect to short-term rentals. And they, more than 10% objected, and so we had to go to the vote. And at Desert Mountain, the quorum was 10%, and we got the 10%, and more than 2/3 of the people voted in favor of it, so it passed. The second amendment we just did with respect to Desert Mountain more recently was an additional fee due at closing, right? Like a working capital contribution. And that one, the board put out the resolution, they waited 45 days, and not 10% even objected, so it immediately became effective. So it just depends on the issue, how controversial it is, things like that. All right. So again, like I said, there's no like black and white answer here, right? I respect all the opinions here. The trend is going towards making it easier to amend your documents, but I certainly understand the concerns, and it's going to be up to you guys to decide how you want to do it.
One of the things,
Hang on, just keep your mic. We want to hear you.
One of the things that I think differentiates us from, Mirabel, Estrella, Sun City Grand, DC Ranch, and Desert Mountain and Scottsdale is that most of the people here only come up a lot of the people only come up on the summit. So most of the people aren't really paying attention. I don't pay attention. I don't read my Forest Highlands emails during the winter. Most of the people don't really pay attention, when it's not summer. So I think that's a difference. Now, I assume Yellowstone Club, Moonlight Basin, and Spanish Peaks are more like this. And I don't know, how you distinguish that when you talk about your representation of those in terms of their CC&Rs and what they do. But I do think a lot of people, somehow we have to have a way of people who aren't even reading their emails, maybe texts or something in the CC&Rs and maybe give them a little more time and a little higher.
No, I get it, right? We all get emails that we don't read. But there's a balance, right? I think you are correct. I think this community is much more like those three on your right. But that's why they went to the board, does it without a membership vote, which would probably make some of the people upset.
So having been a board member of a very large community similar to this, I will say that if we are going to go through the process of an extensive CC&R review, which I've also been involved in, if we do not make it easy by changing the way the amount of voting that we need, it's going to be very cumbersome. And I can tell you right now, all of you are here because you care. You're the people who will vote. Getting people to vote is a nightmare, correct, Kurt? And so what will happen then is everything will stall because we won't have enough votes to move things forward. And if you're not reading the fun newsletters that come during the winter, you're not going to read this detailed legal CC&R document with the changes marked up. It just isn't going to happen. So then we're going to basically immobilize the board. And they were elected to represent us and do the right thing. So my opinion is that what's being proposed is very reasonable.
Well, and that is precisely the reason why that's the trend. Because people are much more apt to vote for the election of directors than they are for amendments.
I was just gonna say that,
Hey, it's not your turn.
whose turn is it?
I don't care if you were on the board before, it's still not your turn.
So how many people do we think we have here today?
85 in the room, I counted.
Okay, great job. Okay, so if we had, by what they're proposing, needed 67% of the 20%, we're talking about roughly 120 homes to be, right? Okay, so but if we go the other way, where we had to have 67% of 100%, that's 600 people. We only have 85 that were willing to get up and come here today in the summer, right? In the summer, this isn't a winter meeting, this is a summer meeting. So I agree. I think 20% might be a little low, but I don't think 50% is even necessary. But if we could say that if we had, say it was even 10% more, that's 180 homes that have to be represented, had to be vote for something to make it pass, which seems pretty reasonable.
Yeah, can I just take time out now? We've heard maybe 4 different incredibly reasonable positions that are all different. That's why these guys get paid the big bucks, right? Because they're trying to keep all of you happy, and all of you have, you know, it's just very difficult to come up with one thing that everyone can agree with.
I was just gonna say that these are two real extremes, 20% of 2/3. In my experience, the answer is always somewhere in the middle, of course, of added protections in there. I'd be open here for.
Yeah, no, that's why I tried to give you the spectrum,
Right.
because I think the 20% of the 2/3 and the 30 days is in the middle. But again, ultimately, it's up to you all. It's your community. I can draft it any way.
So this is an up or down vote on this proposal.
Yes. Yes.
Can you give any examples of something that, if this were to pass and it requires 67% and 20%, can you give an example of things that, I think the fear is that if not enough people vote or a certain small percentage vote and something outrageous, or in somebody's opinion, something outrageous got passed through. I think the fear is what could happen if only a small percentage.
Yeah, great question. What could happen if only a small percentage voted? Number one, that would mean that everybody got notice and ignored it, right? That would first have to happen. Then maybe only 21% vote, but you'd still need 2/3 of those voting, so that's another layer of protection. And then you would have the statutory and the case law protection. I think the case law has really changed things, that Colway case. Anytime, if the board came to me and said, we want to do something radical, the Colway checks that, right? Because even if you get the vote under the membership, Colway now puts buoys that you need to stay between. It has to be reasonable, has to be foreseeable. And those are 2 really good checks, I think, to keep anything crazy from happening. But God forbid it did, then if enough people, the good news is it would then be easy to fix it, because.
Where would you stick with the number from how Highlands agreed?
Would you,
It's state provision. Sounds like it's very.
Subjective, yeah. No, it is, but the case, the Colway case, without boring you too much, says that it needs to be, the amendment needs to be foreseeable, and that it's a clarification or something that is tethered to an existing restriction. It can't be a completely new restriction that people didn't anticipate. So if somebody came in and tried to do something that's completely new and foreign, the court wouldn't allow it. Now, and that gives you some added layer of protection. What Colway does allow is exactly what you all need, is, hey, this provision references another one that doesn't exist. Let's clean that up and fix it.
Is there a way within this voting ticket to say, I'm going to say no, but I think we should make it 30%? Or whatever. And I know that sounds crazy, but then the board would actually be getting true feedback from the people that care enough to vote. And we would know. If everybody comes back and says, oh, it's got to be 2/3 of 50%, well, then we're nowhere near where we're trying to get to, and that'll be turned down anyway.
Yeah.
But I think we should be able to say, or recommend to the board, which are doing a great job, no question, maybe it should be a little more, a little less, whatever. But have us be able to say, no, but it could be this. And maybe they can get feedback from us.
Yes, that is absolutely theoretically possible, yes. And the question was, can you vote no, but say, we would vote yes if it was this? The only practical limitation with that are two things. Number one, it delays the process. But number two, the no but is maybe different for all, everybody. And then now they're back in that same spot of trying to figure out what's gonna happen, because you're never gonna make everybody happy.
But if you got a straight no, you're back in the same boat.
Exactly, so that's the difficulty here, right? So yeah, if there's an overwhelming groundswell that says, hey, look, we would totally do this if it was 30%, I'm just filling a number, whatever. Yeah, I'm sure the board would listen to that. But just keep in mind that even here today, we've heard all kinds of different variations.
And Curtis, if I may, I've been lucky enough to sit on many things.
Sorry, Doug, we can't hear you.
Sorry, I thought my voice carried.
And I was just gonna say, if I may, because I've been lucky enough to sit in the meetings with the Strategic Planning Committee when this ultimate recommendation came forward, and then also when the board approved the recommendation, is the 20% quorum was selected to protect the entire membership from having to be berated when we have a very tedious vote going out. So when you have, literally them sending you out saying, we'd like to remove the verbiage of developer in our CC&Rs, right? We're hoping to have 120 approximately say yes. And then we can move on with something that is just very low-hanging fruit, things that have been sitting in our CC&Rs for over 25 years now. And now we know if we were to put forward a vote for a special assessment, there's no way that only 20% of our membership's gonna show up for that, right? We would probably have 75, 80% participation. So it's a minimum threshold, and there was a lot of conversation with this group up here and Curtis with the guidance that, we need to have it be at least a number to when there's just really simple things that people that do care will show up for, and those that don't check in much with the governance conversation at Forest Highlands, we don't need to bother them and berate them with so many emails and put signs up everywhere and have a campaign, etc., for the low-hanging fruit. So I appreciate everyone's comments. I just want to share that on behalf of the board and the Strategic Planning Committee, because that was a conversation that they had back and forth many times, and what they felt really confident about with making sure that you as the membership felt that there wasn't a real big drastic change was still keeping that 60% supermajority of the voters. Because, Curtis shared, as far as the spectrum, the majority of the clubs are simple majority, right? So where you get 50.01%, and that's what you move forward with. But they wanted to really protect those that do participate by keeping it at a supermajority percentage of 67%. So I just wanted to share those on behalf of the board and the strategic plan, because I was able to be a part of their conversations.
Okay, one more quick, okay, yeah, sure. Okay, I can repeat it.
Not the bottom time. You can't hear you.
I'll give you the law.
Again, I totally support the concept of making it simple, but we got an email 2 days ago, I think, that explained this, and now we saw it for the whole membership. And to me, there's a whole lot of good thoughts here, not necessarily mine, anybody else's. And I think to be presented with a yes or no based on one email and one presentation to a limited number of the membership seems contrary to how we traditionally operated here. There's been no chance for us to give any input until today. So I just
Got it. Okay. Well, again, I'm thrilled to be a small part of the team. Nice to meet all of you. Whatever you all decide, I'm happy to help. And again, I feel incredibly blessed to be here, and have a great day.
Curtis, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking everyone's comments and questions.
Okay, do we have any questions, comments about something other than a CC&R vote? For the board or for the directors that are here? Yes.
I'm Catherine Glazer. I've been a member for 16 years. And I understand, Doug, that you and your management team went down to Desert Highlands, where I also am a member and live. And I wondered what the key takeaways were and how that came to be that you went down, visited, and have a new app that looks like my Desert Highlands app.
Thank you, Mrs. Glazer. I appreciate the question. So every year, right before we're kicking off our summer campaign, we're fortunate enough to go on a leadership retreat. This was a program that started well before I joined the company almost 2.5 years ago. So the last few years, since I've been a part of the planning process, I've wanted to make the most of that leadership retreat to where we don't go to a remote area and just talk amongst ourselves. The last few years, I've chosen strategically areas where we have peer clubs that we can also visit during that retreat for, as I like to call them, inspiration trips with our leadership team. So we not only went to Desert Highlands, we also went to Paradise Valley Country Club this year. So we did tour both of those outstanding facilities. The year previously, we went to Sterling Grove, a new club that just got launched that's brand new, more on the east or the west side of town. And then the year before that, we went to Seven Canyons because we were in the Sedona area. So every time that we go out now, we're seeking our peers around us so we can network with other clubs, we can learn about what they're working on, and we can ask them questions about certain things such as this. What are your voting requirements? What are your HOA dues? What's your current initiation fee? What are the last new big projects you did at the club? And to answer your question about key takeaways, is we were very impressed with Desert Highlands. It's a beautiful club. They're continually investing in their infrastructure, right? We got to be toured specifically by Desi, so my peer, and he was so gracious with his time. He talked to us about, the membership, what the voting requirements are there. Those were our big questions because these are things that are coming up now. And then he also took us to the new areas, and we learned that bocce ball is a very big part of your culture there. We saw the rings that all the winners win, and just walk through the clubhouse. And it's very inspiring for us to see other clubs working so hard and doing such a great job. And then it also makes us feel really good about what we do here as well. Talking about the size of our campus, the complexities of our community versus the two that we visited this year, which were 18-hole communities and one clubhouse. So it just really keeps us on the pulse of what's going on, not only in our industry, but also for some of our members that do share their time with us here at Forest Highlands. But great question. So that's how it all came to be. Hopefully that answered your question. Thank you, Mrs. Glazer.
And I would add to that, Doug is doing a great job of getting all of his leaders out to see other parts of the country and, talk just briefly about where you send them and what conferences they're going to.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you to the memberships that support this. Obviously, through the operating dues that you give us, we take a very small portion of that and we continue all of our education, right? We continue to be curious about what's going on out there. So, Kurt is going for his CC&M right now with the CMAAs. He's just one BMI away from getting there. We have Erin Reddick in the back of the room who's gone on numerous adventures the last few years where she's been going and seeing aquatics programming, recreation programming. He's going to these summits that are being offered in the hospitality industry where we can meet with our peers, we can see the leaders in the space, get up and motivate all of us and talk about what's going on. And myself, I like to make it out to a CMAA every once in a while. And we have PGA, where we send our team members to the PGA Merchandise Show, which is in Orlando, where they get to see all the most amazing swag, as they call it now, and the merchandise in that space. So we're always going out and making sure that when we do use the company dollars to do that, that we're not just going out and putting our head in the sand, but we're bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. We are being very curious. We're taking notes. Kurt and I, whenever we go to events, we're always sitting in front of the room so we can make sure that we're not being distracted with what's going on. So thank you, Bob, for allowing me to share a few things there. And thank you for supporting those habits. I think that that's how we're going to stay relevant. We're always going to exceed your expectations moving forward. Yes, Jeff?
One more thing on the...
Got a microphone right there for those in the back of the room.
Just one more thing on the CC&R changes. Can you give us a better picture of how many times that we're going to come out with these changes? I assumed it was going to be one sort of big omnibus. Here's all our faults. Let's make all these changes and be done with it. Or are we anticipating keep coming back monthly, weekly, whatever?
No, it's a great
just
question.
A little better picture of that.
I can answer that from all the conversations I've had, or Bob can answer that, because obviously, as the board, they're the ones that bring out the votes. So please let me know about it.
Yeah, I'll let you answer. No, so the question is, what do we see coming forward? And I would say that we see an omnibus of taking, where it talks about the condominiums on the campus. You guys know about the condominiums, right? Probably gonna remove that. It talks about the developer. We haven't been involved with a developer since '98. And so take all of those and rewrite it in a streamlined fashion and bring it to the members. That is my vision.
Yeah.
But we're a committee. So my vision isn't always what happens. In fact, very seldom. Only at the house is where my vision is always implemented.
And I can concur, we're gonna have another response here from Mike Dowse.
Yeah, Jeff, just to add on that, I think you guys know Clint, Magnuson, Lindell, and Pat. They're really heading up this discussion. It's unfortunate they have various conflicts today. But what Bob just spoke to, this omnibus, is the spirit of what we're trying to do, is to get all that low-hanging fruit through. And then, I'm sorry, I forgot the lady's name up here, and then Curtis talked on it as well. If there were ever to be an assessment or something on the strategic plan, that would be a completely different vote, and it would never be tied into what I call the dotting the i's and crossing the t's in our governing documents.
Other questions, comments? All right, I'll let you close it.
Great. Well, as we can all agree, we learned a great deal today. Not only that Forest Highlands is still our magical paradise in the pines, but also something that so many members care about. And I appreciate Paul saying that we, in a summer month, right, this is a week after Memorial Day, we have about 50 memberships represented in this room. So I want to thank all of you that did come out, because your board members spend a lot of time. They were not joking about the 5.5, 6 hour meetings. We just had a 5.5 hour meeting on Memorial Day. So if that doesn't tell you how dedicated your board is, I don't know what does. So let's give them a round of applause, please. Thank you, leaders. You deserve all of that, every bit more. And I want to thank my team members, first and foremost. That 2025 survey that you all did take the time to fill out, 478 to be exact, you have no idea how much that perked us all up, right? We appreciate hearing from you on a day-to-day basis, and I know that you all have your favorite team members that you might, tug on their shoulder every once in a while and say, hey, can you tell me about this, or why is this that way? What were you thinking when you made that decision? But to have all of you as a collective group come together with almost 500 responses to that very thorough survey made us all much better leaders, made us all much better trainers, made us all much better community participants here at Forest Highlands. So I'm going to thank you in advance for filling out our 2026 survey, because we listened, we cared a lot about what you said, and I hope that you've already seen a lot of those comments take action in our short season thus far of 2025. We do really, truly hear everything that you say, and all the leaders in this room, they tied your opportunities to improve to their incentives this year. So not only are they wanting to get better for you, but they're also wanting to get better from themselves. That's how much we care about what you do share as far as the opportunities that we have. And I wanted to take a moment to thank all the leaders that we have in the room. Chef Fred did come in. He wasn't in earlier because he was cooking. But we've obviously got my right-hand man, as he likes to be called, my left tackle, Mr. Kurt Martin. Thank you, Coach. We're going to be celebrating 37 years with us this year as our Director of Agronomy, so thank you, Donna. We're going comeback kid of the year after what we dealt with last year. Wow, those golf courses look good this year, so thank you for that, Bill. Julie Sterner here, who's behind and not chewing on gum. She's doing the Zoom. She's behind the camera, and she worked very hard on that new app for you. I know that there's still more to grow into. We need to get a couple of our other programs dealt with, some of the tea time reservations, some of the other opportunities. We're gonna collaborate it all into one. That is the long-term goal. We just need to make sure that the person supporting the app is able to get us there. So be patient, a couple of years from now, that's gonna be your one-stop shop. You heard it here. And we've got Andrew, who's our new director, Andrew Hedrick. Thank you so much, new director of all. He and I have spent a lot of time together over the last month since he's been on property. He has spent very little time with his family because his wife and girls are still in Colorado. So his dedication is huge, and they're hoping to get here in the next few weeks. But if you see him around, please welcome him. I know many of you have already gone out of your way. The video that we put together, which I know the majority of you, the caring membership who really do take your time to be a part of all these events, have already watched. He has felt so welcomed and genuinely and sincerely through all the great conversations that he's had with all of you. So thank you for having such an amazing culture that welcomes our new team members like Andrew. So congratulations to all of you new members for that. And then we've got, obviously, Chef got a little round of applause for getting done, checking on the food for tonight. Mark Thomas celebrating 31 years with us this year. Absolutely incredible. His dedication. Hey, how about that Memorial Day celebration? That was incredible. Thank you for that, Mark and team, and Karen and Taylor. Aaron Reddick, thank you for staying with us. Take care of over 1,500 littles. It's just absolutely incredible, keeping them all safe and sound. Thanks to Joe Gordon, Mr. Security and Safety. He had a night after that, the celebration. You know, there's a lot of people having a good time here on those holiday weekends. And he and his team were making sure that you all could go to bed and not have to worry about anything. And then we've got Kim, our CFO, working so closely with Sarah. Thank you for that. Those financials, absolutely incredible how healthy we are right now. We're going to be very frugal with it until we do have that master plan proposal. That's why she used it, hoarding cash. We know that cash is going to start flying soon, so we want to make sure that we're being smart with every dollar that we have today so we can reinvest that with the big plans coming tomorrow. And then Talia, our culture and people leader, which is the new title, she has to know every single one of our over 500 staff members intimately. She does such a great job taking good care of them. And our housing for our seasonal employees this year, I think you'd all maybe want to move out of your beautiful homes here because it's so nice. So we're going to have an employee survey go out, which to me is equally, if not more important than your survey. And please take that with all due respect, because we need to make sure that we're taking care of our staff members so they can take such wonderful care of you. And they can provide that elevating excellence culture that we have. And that puts me in my last thought here. This is a brand new piece of apparel that ironically just showed up today. And this is a staff hat celebrating 225 years of America, and this is the first ever uniform piece that every single staff member has received that's the same. You go over to Racket Sports, they're wearing white polos. You go over here for lunch, they're wearing maroon polos. You go see the golf team, they're wearing reddish pink polos. So I wanted to unify our entire team this year by giving them all the same piece to proudly wear and represent our beautiful club. So when you see them around, say, I love your new hat. I hear everyone gets one, and I'm sure we're gonna probably have to order a few more in the golf shop because maybe some members might want one too. So congratulations to the board. What a wonderful job they did today in the meeting. Bob wants me to keep going. All right, so if you all don't know, this is my third summer, and as I shared about Andrew, he has felt sincerely welcome to the community. I am echoing the same sentiment. I've gotten to know almost all 900 memberships over my short time here, and I feel blessed to be a part of the magic that's going on here. And I know we have had so many team members come before me that have built that momentum that I have been able and so blessed to carry on moving forward. So if you ever feel that we're moving in the wrong direction operationally, if you ever feel that I can do something better as a leader, that there's maybe an opportunity to improve somewhere within our community, please do not hesitate to come find me. My office is downstairs right below us here in the canyon. I get to work with our lovely admin team in that area, but I try to be around the community as much as I can, so I'm sure you've seen me in many different locations on property. But please, I mean that. If there's something that's just bugging you a little bit, or maybe you heard from one of your fellow members, they had some good perspective to share, I would love to know about that so I can get in and improve on all those opportunities. I don't want anything to fester within the membership, so I truly, truly mean that. Bob, would you like me to still keep talking? Perfect. So, you know we're 2 days away from June, and what does that mean? Hopefully no more frost delays, right? We actually had a frost delay this morning. It was a 30-minute frost delay, and if you would have asked me that we would have had one on May 30th, I wouldn't have said that, especially since it was 85 degrees here in March this year. All of you that live down the valley, you know that because it was 110 degrees down there that day. I was actually down in the valley that day. It was beautiful, but just a little too warm. Okay, are you ready now?
Yep.
All right, perfect.
So this is what I
Thank
love.
you very much.
I got home communications, the things are being made, decisions are being made, and Doug gets to hear about it with everybody else. So we're gonna take your feedback, we're gonna pause the vote, and we're gonna take your feedback and look at it. I disagree with more than 20%, and this is why I disagree. You elect the board. You vote us as your board members. And if you think you're gonna elect people that are gonna, as a majority of the board, or runaway secret ballots, that we're gonna get by with a 30-day notice and have to have 67% of 20%, which is 121 people approve it. I don't see that. I don't see it happening with the members, I don't see it happening with the board, I don't see you electing the board members. But I do, I served 6 years in the military, and part of my principles are the people that disagree with me have the right to stand up and have a microphone and say, I think you're a dumbass. And I think it should be this way. And I love that about our country, and I love that about living where we live. So we're gonna put it on pause. I don't promise we'll change it, but what I do promise is we'll listen to your input. Seem fair? What's that?
What about those of us that are already voted?
You're gonna get to vote twice. And you'll get double the amount of money for voting. So, and just like we're gonna get double the amount for coming up with a second idea, or redoing it, or keeping with the first one.
So you'll throw those votes out?
We'll throw those votes out, yes, thank you very much. So I think that's fair. All right, and with that, go have a drink. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here, everyone. Let's have a great summer together.